everybody, welcome back to Carried Away Travels. Now, despite my seasonal attire and decor, today we're not going to be talking about anything to do with the holidays, but I guarantee today's topic is no less magical than the Christmas season. Today I want to talk to you about the Galapagos Islands, and more specifically how you can go and visit them. This is something I've wanted to talk about since we visited the Galapagos Islands back in May, because it was just such an amazing experience. Like, not just the best part of that trip, but literally one of the most incredible things I've done in my life. We got to spend, I believe, 4 days on San Cristobal Island in the Galapagos, and there was just so much to discover, and everything was just so different from anything I'd experienced before. We had the chance to swim with sea lions and sea turtles. We saw the giant tortoises and blue-footed boobies. The landscapes were surreal. It was such an incredible experience, and that was just one island. And what I thought was really interesting, and I wish I'd known before, was that the islands are really more accessible than you might think. I always thought they were super far away and really hard to get to, like you had to be maybe a scientist to be there. And that's just not the case. It's actually pretty easy to come visit the Galapagos Islands, and I really think that this is a trip that everyone should take at least once if you have any interest in unique wildlife, unique landscapes, just adventure travel in general. This is such an amazing trip, the trip of a lifetime. And so today I want to tell you how you can take that trip. So we visited the Galapagos Islands as part of our trip to Ecuador that we took with Exotica. And if you haven't heard of them before, they are a travel company, and they arrange trips all over the world with English-speaking guides and tour groups, and they take care of your flights and your hotels and a lot of included tours. So it was a really nice introduction to the country of Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands. And at first, I really didn't know how much the company was going to do for us as far as making it possible and easy for us to visit the Galapagos Islands until I started looking into the couple of things that we had to do. And I was a little overwhelmed, if I'm being honest, but now that I've done it and I saw the parts that they played in the whole thing, it's really not that hard to visit the Galapagos Islands as long as you take the proper steps to begin with. And so that's what I want to share with you guys today, in case you don't want to book a big tour and you want to plan this kind of thing yourself. This is what you're going to need. Now, quick side note, if you are the kind of person that wants to just book a tour and have someone else do all the planning and be done with it, this is the tour we booked with Exotica. It's currently on sale for $1,700 per person. It's 12 nights, and just about everything you would typically worry about is already taken care of for you. You pretty much just have to show up and pay for your food and add on any extra tours you want on your free days. This is not sponsored by Exotica at all, but if you're interested, I can get you $100 off your first booking. I'll put the details in the caption if you want. We had an amazing time with this, and I also have a full review of this Exotica tour on my blog at cochranewriting.com. I will include the link to that in the caption as well, so you can get a full picture of what this entailed. Okay, so first things first, I keep saying how accessible the Galapagos Islands are, so you're probably wondering where they are. If you didn't catch it yet, they are off the coast of Ecuador, about 600 miles into the Pacific Ocean. You'll find San Cristobal, which is the island we visited, and that is the closest to the coast of Ecuador. Now, for reference, if you live in the US, that is almost a straight shot down from Louisiana, and a flight from the US to the Galapagos Islands out of somewhere like Miami would only take 4 to 5 hours to get to Ecuador, and then less than 2 hours to get to the Galapagos Islands. So in about 6 to 7 hours, you could be in the Galapagos from the US, which is pretty much less time than it takes to get from Virginia to California. Unfortunately, it's not quite as straightforward as just taking a plane from Louisiana to the Galapagos Islands. There's actually only 2 airports in the entire world that fly into the Galapagos Islands, and both of them are in Ecuador. You can fly out of Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, or Guayaquil, which is the largest city in Ecuador. They both have airports that will get you to the Galapagos Islands, but there are no international flights directly to the islands. Something else to be aware of is that only 2 airlines actually fly into the Galapagos, and those are LATAM, which is like a sister airline to Delta, that's what we used, and Avianca. All right, now that you know where the Galapagos Islands are and how you can get to them, let's talk about what you need to actually step foot on the islands. First things first, you're going to need a hotel booked. This is going to come up a little bit later, but it's very important that before you get there, you have a reservation at a hotel, you know exactly what the address is, and you have specific dates booked. The government is very on top of controlling tourism because this is such a fragile ecosystem. It's really important that they don't overwhelm the islands with tourists. And so if you do not have an existing hotel reservation, or if you're lucky enough to have friends that live on the islands and will be hosting you, that's okay too. But you have to have a place down where you're going to be staying because you're going to need to provide that on some official documentation before you can enter the islands. Now, the documentation I'm referring to is the TCT, or Transit Control Card, and this is how the government regulates the flow of tourists onto the islands. When you get to your airport, either Quito or the one in Guayaquil, you will have to visit a special counter and fill out a form to get your Transit Control Card. You cannot enter the island without this. They will check. It costs $20. You have to pay this in cash, and they're going to check your passport. They're going to check for your hotel booking, make sure you have specific dates of travel and they match up with those bookings. So it's not super complicated, but you do have to have some specific pieces in place. You can't just show up at the airport and expect to get on a plane. Now, once you're at the airport, you're going to have to put your luggage through a special biosecurity screening as well. And this is just an extra measure to make sure that you don't accidentally bring something into the island that would harm the ecosystem. And that includes live plants and veggies, seeds. They'll even be really particular about what snacks you have with you. No live animals. You can't bring your dog with you on this trip. They'll even check for bugs, and your luggage is going to get sprayed with insecticide. So they're taking a lot of precautions to make sure that your luggage is safe. You're also not allowed to bring any plastic bags or bottles. Everything needs to be reusable because, once again, they're doing everything they can to protect this fragile ecosystem. After your luggage goes through the security screening, they're actually going to seal your bag so you can't get into it until you land in the Galapagos, and then they will cut that seal for you so you can access your luggage again. But just make sure you have everything you need out of your suitcase before that screening, not just before you drop it off with security. On top of this, once you are on the plane, the stewardess is going to come through and hand everyone a questionnaire. And this is like a triple check that you have no live plants or animals, no seeds, no bugs with you. They will ask if you've been in contact with certain kinds of animal or livestock within like the past week. It is very thorough. But once again, it's just making sure that you are not bringing anything into this protected environment that could upset the delicate balance of these creatures that live here. And so you will have to answer this questionnaire on the plane. It's got 2 sides to it, and so you actually need to keep that with you throughout your trip, because you have to fill out a second side before you leave. And once again, they check this at the airport. Okay, and the very last thing you're going to need is $100 in cash. Unless you are an Ecuadorian native, in which case you will only need $6 in cash. And this is for the Galapagos National Park entrance fee. I get it, that is an extremely hefty entrance fee. If you've been complaining about like the $20 it takes to get into your local state park, I feel ya. But it does cost $100 per adult to enter the Galapagos Islands. You will pay this in cash when you land at the airport. So when you get off your plane, everyone gets in a line and they have a couple different stations where they're going to check your passports and your questionnaire and your transit control card, and they're going to collect the fee for the national park. So that is everything you need to enter the Galapagos Islands. All in all, it's just 3 passes, really, and just some extra preparation. Once you're on the islands, you're pretty much free to explore at your leisure. But something else to keep in mind is, once again, in an effort to protect these special environments, a lot of things are off limits unless you have a nature guide with you, a licensed nature guide. And don't worry, there are lots of them on the islands, but you will have to, in many cases, hire someone to take you to specific parts of the island and make sure that you don't, accidentally stomp all over the blue-footed boobies nesting grounds or get in shark-infested waters, little things. And also, there are specific parts of the islands open on specific days of the week. So you can't just show up or plan to show up at a specific part of the island any given day. A nature guide will help you understand what parts of the island are open at what days and what times. Once again, this is to keep you and the environment protected and just overall control the flow of visitors around the island. With that said, you shouldn't have any trouble finding any excursions or tours to take. We visited San Cristobal and there were tour companies on literally every corner and all the buildings next to the corner. Like, there are so many local companies that will take you snorkeling, scuba diving, on hikes, to see the giant tortoises. Like, there's so many things to choose from, and most of the tour companies offer several different packages. The only thing you really need to be aware of is that they can fill up rather quickly. So you want to make sure you book your tours in advance. It's near impossible to walk up and get something for same day or the next day. So you do want to plan a couple days in advance. If you're really worried about it, you can check online or use Viator, which has a very nice cancellation policy. But you should be able to find plenty of things to do that all have a licensed nature guide to go with you, so you don't have to worry about accidentally going where you're not supposed to. And that, my friends, is how you can visit the Galapagos Islands. I really hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any interest in visiting the Galapagos Islands, and based off the fact that you just watched a 14-minute video about it, I assume that you do. I really hope that you take the opportunity to go visit. It really is the trip of a lifetime. There is so much to discover and enjoy, and I don't think there's a way you could possibly regret taking this trip. If you do want to read a little bit more information about this topic, I do have a full blog post on it at cochranewriting.com. Once again, I also have a blog post about that Exotica tour if you're interested. There will be a link to that in the blog post for this video as well. And once again, that link for the $100 off your first booking will be in the caption too. You can also find that in that post. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up before you go. If you really liked it, make sure you're subscribed to Carried Away Travels so you can get more helpful videos like this from me in the future. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here, and I wish you many happy travels.